Hello, friends and fellow Simmerstorians. I am here today, not with tea, but with a cup of French press coffee. And I am so excited to jump back into the chaos that is the Price household. So I opened up the lot and their children are fighting. Why not? Why would our children not be fighting? So, we do need to set up the religion for this household. They are going to be St. Philip's members since they're part of the St. Philip's parish. I can't exactly remember whether or not I banned fighting. So hopefully this will calm down. It's the children too. Again, I didn't even know kids could fight until I started this series. So we have Lilith and Julian getting into a little brawl. But thankfully the twins are, good together and they're still playing a lot. I love that we just saw Leonora cheering on the brawl in the background because she's got a lot of chaotic energy, which I think is so funny. Thankfully, Leonora's been doing a lot of housework for us. She hasn't exactly made her debut to society yet, so she has a lot of time around the house. The kids I put in timeout because I am having none of the child fighting that is happening, and so I just kind of locked them in the bedroom with their toys. And poor Lilith is actually really upset about the fight with her brother. Thankfully, Marcus and Delphine are having a pretty good spot with their relationship right now. They're spending a lot of time in bed together. There's a lot of cuddling happening, a lot of canoodling. And real quick, I just kind of wanted to show you what's going on with the family tree. So of course we have Maxwell and Ada, the founding members of the Price household. They're no longer here with us, and their eldest daughter Alma, who had Eleanor, they are both dead. Eleanor died in a pottery explosion. Alma, her mother, died in childbirth. And then, of course, we also have her sister Emma, who was married to Edmund Jung. That was his first wife. She also died in childbirth, and they only had one son, Peter. And Peter is the heir. And then, of course, we have Marcus's kids. We've got the eldest, Leonora, who will be making her debut into society this episode, which I'm so excited about. This is our first debut that will really be happening in the series. So I hope you're looking forward to that in a few minutes. And, of course, we also have the heir, Julian, his twin sisters, Prudence and Lilith, and, of course, Brooke, who the family doesn't know about. The only people who know about Brooke are Sophronia, and of course Marcus, but Marcus hasn't actually met his daughter yet. And then we've got Sophie, Sophronia, and their kids. We've got Rainier, Eliza, Marilla, and Charity. So Sophie and Albert are actually doing pretty well together. They've got tons of kids. And then we've got Teresa, who we just had a little bit of an update for finally. We haven't seen Teresa around a whole lot since she's been working diligently and hard at the Lawson household. She's recently moved out to be a teacher with the local convent with her love, Charlotte Holloway. So they're really cute together. I hope you enjoyed that vignette for them. And I think it's officially time that we expand the dining room in this household because we have so many Sims in the Price household that no one really fits. I feel like this generation we're having a lot of kids. So it is Leonora's debut today. She's very nervous. She's got ballet beforehand though. Unfortunately, since Molly, our maid of all work, is no longer with us because of her pregnancy with Brooke, we have to spend a lot of time picking up the slack. And that means Delphine is actually starting to do some of the hard work around the house. But I just wanted to pop in. I'll show you a little bit more about this venue next episode with the Kings, but we have our little ballet studio at the top floor of our new theater in town. We've got all the little girls in town doing some ballet, getting some exercise, and of course we have Beatrice Wenlin Lawson. This is the girl who is married to Nathaniel Lawson, who is the heir of the Lawson household, and she is a famous ballerina. She got some schooling in ballet at the Sorbonne in Paris, and she is a professor's daughter at Cambridge. And then, of course, Sophronia, being the most extra mom possible, sends her daughter Eliza in a full-on tutu instead of just some proper exercise gear. This doesn't surprise me at all. She's so extra and I love her. And so Leonora is hoping to get out some of her nervous jitters before her debut tonight into society. The debut is also coinciding with her little brother's birthday. And Marion here has a bit of an arranged marriage so far with Julian once Julian ages up. And they don't really know each other very well, but this is just kind of what I have planned for them. I don't know if it's going to work out, if they'll hate each other, if they'll like each other, but this is kind of what their parents have hoped for already. The Averys, as you know, are a very, very well-to-do family in town, and Marion has not had her debut yet, so she's still kind of in like some more childish clothing. So here we are. It is officially Leonora's debut into society. We've got everyone in town that is more of the upper class here. We've got Septimus getting down, and Daisy and the Kings and some Holloways, and we've got just about everyone. And then of course Sophie with her sister-in-law Annalise. So everyone is here, everyone is having a fun time, and I've made the mistake again of, you know, having a Victrola because everyone is dancing constantly and a little bit compulsively. But it's honestly really fun for me to see. I know it's not exactly historical, but look, I love seeing my Sims have fun and I'm okay with it. I'm not gonna lie. And of course we've got Marion here. So it's now time for the birthday boy to age up into a teenager. Oh, I can't believe how time is flying with him. So everyone gathers around to celebrate the little heir, Julian, aging up into a teenager. I kind of forget how much younger he is than his sister, because she's already over halfway through her teenagehood, and he's at least 7 days behind her. So here he is. He aged up with the grumpy trait. If you saw my recent tutorial video, I have incorporated traits. So he's going to be cranky all the time. So it's time for some dancing, and I think Leonora's a little bit nervous as to whether or not Gregory is going to ask her to dance, because he's been talking with Flora a lot, but he's definitely not in the social class to court Flora. Like, this isn't even an issue. And so Septimus asks Daisy to dance, and he starts talking to her about the plans regarding asking her whether or not she wants to be a midwife with him. And so he asks her, like, hey, have you given this any thought yet? I'm really eager to, you know, start working with a midwife. And Daisy is kind of like, I haven't made up my mind yet. I'm still thinking about it. I need a couple more days. I need a little more time. And so finally, Gregory asks Leonora to dance. She's kind of been waiting. Oh, she has a crush on him now. She's kind of been waiting for a while. They've really just been like best friends since childhood. And especially since he stood up for her to her father when she suspected that her father was having an affair with Molly. So the issue here is that Gregory and Marcus are enemies in the game, like legitimately enemies. They started autonomously fighting, and so we have a bit of an issue happening there. So every time he comes over to the house, there's a lot of brawling. Thankfully, we get through the dancing without her father like totally slapping him or anything. And of course we've got some of the kings and everyone. The fathers, of course, are talking shop at the tables while we've got some of the younger folk dancing. I think Julian wants to ask Marisol to dance, but she is a little busy and she's still pretty young. so is he. So they're not exactly like thinking about courtship yet. And of course, you don't have to be thinking about courtship to dance with someone at the ball. Daisy is honestly a little bit confused as to what's happening with Oliver. Septimus. Septimus hasn't exactly made any like advances towards her romantically, but he's spending a lot of time with her, and she doesn't think it's because he has feelings for her. She just thinks it's because he really wants her as a midwife, because he's a little bit overwhelmed being the only medical practitioner in town, especially since Bertram hasn't opened his apothecary shop yet. So it's a little bit chaos for him at the moment, and he's really, really eager to get some help. Of course, Sophronia and Albert are absolutely adorable. They've had a bit of a rough, confusing ride with their relationship. They're very hot and cold, very up and down. And so it's nice to actually see them just kind of enjoying themselves. Come on! We almost made it through the night without a brawl. Ugh. I need a minute. These Sims are so terrible. What have I done to deserve Sims like this? Who's even fighting? Okay. It's not you, Ernest. I would never expect Ernest to fight anyway. That would be really, really weird. Who is it? Are these Price children still fighting? Is that Leonora? Oh my God, Leonora and Julian are having a fight? What happened? So Leonora doesn't exactly have a great friendship with anyone in the household, and neither does Julian, because Julian aged up with the grumpy trait. That means that his mood bar is literally constantly all the way at the bottom in the red. Do I kind of hate this mentality and want to delete the grumpy trait from him? Yes, but I'm going to keep it for now. The only issue is that because his mood is always in the red, he refuses to do his homework or anything that is like involving in skilling. So he's kind of like frozen when it comes to skills because I can't do anything with him. So the next morning, before Leonora would be getting any gentleman callers, she decides to go out with her older cousin, Caroline. Caroline recently married Elliot Grunstrom. He is a townie, and you've been watching me build their house a little bit in some of my videos. And so Leonora just kind of wants some advice about the coming out process, about being courted. She is a little bit confused because like her family's been just like a disaster, and so Leonora is really nervous about kind of falling in love with anyone, having a crush on anyone, and like she also doesn't really know how she feels about Gregory, because she kind of like has a little bit of a crush on Gregory. You might have noticed a little crush heart. So she just wants her friend's advice, and so Philippa, of course the owner of the tea shop, sits down when she hears what's going on, and she is of course very well seasoned, and Philippa's essentially like, you know, at the end of the day, who you matter, you can fall in love with, even if you're not feeling it, even if you're just friends with them and you think you only want to be friends with them. There's nothing better in life than being friends with your partner, and it can happen so suddenly, so spontaneously, and you never know what's going to happen. So don't write anybody off, because here I thought I would only marry one man in my life because I was so in love with Renaud Lawson, and here I am with my second marriage, and this marriage is a little bit one of convenience. So Leonora heads home. Her mother Delphine is prepping some snacks to see if anyone comes to say hello, and so who should stop by but the Harveys and little Hiram. Hi, Hiram O'Neilly. I love you so much. Okay, so Cecil is calling on Leonora, as is Hiram, and Cecil is a very soft boy, and as you can see, Leonora is not exactly a fan of him. He's not really her taste. And so, of course, unfortunately, look at her posture. She's so unhappy. So Leonora has to greet everyone who came with him. The girls, Lilith and Prudence, are, of course, like, we want none of this drama. And so they're just outside playing, having a good time, throwing some ball with each other in the empty cow pen. And so Leonora has to spend some time getting to know Cecil. Her mother made a custard pie or a custard tart, and so she's giving it a chance. Like, she understands the situation here. Unfortunately, her mother and father are upstairs canoodling while they have guests over, so we're just gonna let them finish that and hope that they come down soon. But Leonora just doesn't really know what to do about the situation. She's not feeling him, but she knows she kind of has an obligation to the family, and she's not sure if she wants to sort of wreck that obligation because she's seen, like with the Jungs, what happens when you go against your family and what that does to your family reputation. And she knows that her father is also on the brink of kind of ruining their reputation as well. So it's a bit tricky. And her father is talking to Victoria, her second husband, Craig Ray. Craig is a criminal, although no one in town knows that he is a criminal. We kind of hate him on the Discord. At least, I hope you hate him. So they're chatting a little bit about whether or not this courtship is going to work, what kind of dowry and inheritance they'll be receiving, and Marcus is having none of it. And gosh, poor Hiram. So Hiram was not invited because of his social class and family relations to the debut last night, but he heard about the debut and he knows Leonora from school and is really interested in her, but I feel like he was so shy and so embarrassed that someone else showed up that he just said, "Oh, I'm just here to see Julian." And after everyone leaves, it's almost time for bed. Leonora goes up to her father and is like, "No, he's not my type. We have no chemistry. I don't think I can do this." And her father is like, "Leonora, come on. Come on. It's not that hard to court someone. You don't have to marry him." Was he lying when he said that? Probably. So he takes Leonora to work with him the next day just to kind of like show her what working life is like if you don't get married and have to have your own job. And so she does a lot of stocking in her pajamas, because that makes sense, at the butcher shop. And we have a lot of people actually here. The butcher shop is like rank 7, I think, at this point. And technically the deed was inherited down to Leonora, and you know what? I'm going to keep it that way because it was automatically given to her, and I don't know why, but I kind of like that happened. So the family business will be going down to Leonora. I also I don't mind having that kind of, ooh, wait, who's he not enemies with anymore? Oh, that's right. So Marcus was enemies with Benjamin Holloway, if you'll remember the issue that happened when Delphine and Marcus were courting. So it's time for Julian to head to high school for the first time. Leonora is being a proper pill to her entire family. She's so upset about the whole courtship issue. She doesn't feel ready to court anyone. She is also just honestly really upset that Gregory didn't call on her. She's not sure how she feels about him, but she at least thought, like, they danced twice together last night, and she really, really thought that he would at least call on her the next day as a friend, maybe just to check on her, see how she's doing, and she hasn't heard from him. And so Cecil comes over, this is the next day, and for the second day in a row calls on Leonora. And Leonora is just like, she can't get Gregory out of her mind. And she just she really, I don't know, she's just kind of upset and a little bit hurt. And so today she's like, you know what, maybe I should give Cecil a chance. Like, he's a nice guy. He's super nice. Maybe that's the issue. Maybe he's too nice for Leonora. I think Leonora's more into like the bad boy types, because Gregory is actually part of the intellectual society. His sister Maxine kind of runs the scene, and so he's been spending late nights there, learning art from Cedric Cunningham and just kind of drinking and involved in some of the debauchery that happens there. But today, when Leonora and Cecil talk, they actually get along a little bit better. They're not constantly like dropping friendship and stuff. And our dear, dear grumpy Julian finally does something outside other than having a tantrum. He collects some butterflies. He's actually having a pretty good day, and he's playing with his little sisters instead of fighting with them. Although Julian has a soft spot for his little sister Prudence. They haven't actually fought yet, and he's fought with both of his other sisters. So it is nice to see that Julian is capable of a friendly relationship. I am a little bit worried about what Julian's going to be like as an heir if he has this grumpy trait. So I decide it's time to give Leonora a little bit of an updated hairstyle, one that's a little bit more grown up and pulled away from her face. She's starting to take courtship a little bit more seriously after kind of being hurt that Gregory didn't call on her, and so she's like, you know what, I guess it's fine. I'll play the part. We'll see what happens. So with little fanfare, it's time for the twins' birthday. We've had so many events lately that I just figured, like, the girls are still young. They wouldn't want any, like, extravagant party. So it's time for little Lilith to age up first, and then, of course, we will have Prudence into their young teenage stage. I'm so excited, especially I love seeing how they look. So Lilith had a huge glow up and looks absolutely adorable. She actually looks quite a bit like her mother, Delphine. She's got Delphine's nose, and she's the only kid we have that has Delphine's nose. And she's got Delphine eyes. And look at Prudence. She looks like a carbon copy of Marcus, and it's so precious. She just looks so young. She's got his low brow. I think they're adorable. I'm so happy with how they turned out. So now I wanted to introduce you to the new Whitby Town Council. We have the mayor here, and the mayor is, of course, elected by everyone, but I've been doing a little bit of research about, like, city councils and how kind of, like, the structure of towns were run. So it would be normal to have a council made up of aldermen and other important figures in town. So we've got Septimus, we've got Albert Harvey, we also have, of course, Cornelius. Cornelius is our mayor, so he's in charge. He sits at the head of the table, and we have 6 councilmen. So what they're here talking about today is the recent fire that happened at Mary Jung's household, Mary Jung Westerfield. And so we've got everyone here, and they heard some rumors about Bertram being on the lot when the fire happened and not helping out and just stealing their newspaper and leaving. They've heard about it and they think it's a little bit suspicious. So Cornelius King called a town council meeting. We've also got Alexander Avery here, Benjamin Eastman Holloway, and of course we've also got Marcus. And thankfully, we actually do have one woman. I think it generally would have been men on these councils, but because Philippa is such a big, important figure in town, I also felt like it would make sense to have Philippa be a councilman because she runs 2 lots. She was married to the former mayor. Philippa knows what's going on. So they're having a chat about this potential arson, trying to decide whether or not they want to call in the authorities. Marcus is angry and leaves really quickly because they decide they're not sure they want to call the authorities just yet. They think they're going to do a bit of an internal investigation, and Marcus is just like, are you serious? We might have an arsonist. We might have someone who's very dangerous in town, and we're doing nothing about it. And so he just storms off, and everyone else just kind of sits there and they're like, okay, well, I mean, we can either listen to the very angry man and call in the authorities, or we can do an internal investigation. So they're going to start with an internal investigation. There are obviously some concerns, and so they do have to adjourn quickly because they have other people interested in talking about town issues, town politics in town. So we've got a lot of people coming in to kind of talk with people about their own personal issues. And poor Septimus, so he was invited because of his help with the recent pandemic, but he is also a little bit like awkward and shy, and he knows Philippa pretty well, so he just kind of hangs by Philippa the whole time. And Septimus didn't exactly have the warmest welcome into town because he's an outsider and a medical professional, and so he is just like, how do I converse? What do I do? So that is where we are going to end today. I hope you loved today's episode, and we will see you next time at the King household. So don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.